and welcome to Tech Explorer. I hope you are doing well. So today in this video we are going to learn about inheritance in Python. So inheritance is a powerful feature in object-oriented programming. It refers to defining a new class with little or no modification to an existing class. So inheritance is a property that enables us to define a class that will take all the functionality from a parent class and allow us to add more. So let's start understanding inheritance. But before that, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe so that you can get more videos on Python and you can take your journey from the basic to the advanced level. So let's start. So what will be the agenda of today's video? So we are going to learn about inheritance and its syntax. We are going to understand inheritance with example. Then what is single inheritance? What is multiple inheritance? What is multi-level inheritance? What is hierarchical inheritance? How to create a parent class? How to create a child class? The init function, and how to use the super method, how to add properties, and how to add methods. And finally, what is method overriding? Now, what is inheritance in Python? So, inheritance is a property that enables us to define a class that will inherit all the methods and properties from another class. Now, what is a parent class? So, a class that has been inherited from is called a parent class, and it's also known as the base class. Now, what is a child class? A class that inherits from another class, or you may say a base class, is called a child class, and it's also known as the derived class. So inheritance is a powerful feature in object-oriented programming, and it allows us to define a new class with little or no modification to an existing class. Now let's see the syntax of inheritance in Python. It's very simple. Simply use the keyword class to define your base class. You give any name to your base class. In this example, it's base class. And then you define the body of your base class. And then to define your child class, you use the keyword class and give any name to your child class. So here in this example, it is derived class. And then in the parenthesis as an argument, you pass the name of your base class. And then you define the body of your derived class. So this derived class or child class is going to inherit all the properties and the method of your base class. Now let's understand inheritance with example. So this is an example of your base class. You use the keyword class and give any name to your base class. So in this example, it's person. So you are having your init method and it is taking two arguments, that is fname and lname. That's the first name and the last name. And it is initializing the variables. Then you have a print method, print name method, that is printing your first name and the last name. So these are the methods and the prop variables of the base class. Then you define your child class. In this example, it's student, and you're passing as an argument the name of your base class, that is person. So since you are having no content of your class, you're simply using the pass statement so that it doesn't give any error. Then when you're creating an object of your child class, you're passing two values, that is John and Vic, as the fname and the lname. So when you're calling print name method using this object, you're getting the value as or output as John Vic. So in this example, you can see this child class student has inherited all the properties and methods of the base class, that is person. Now let's see the types of inheritance in Python. So inheritance is defined as the capability of one class to derive or inherit the properties from some other class and use it whenever needed. So types of inheritance, it depends simply upon the number of child and the parent classes involved. And there are 5 types of inheritance in Python. So the very first one is single inheritance. Single inheritance, it enables a derived class to inherit the properties from a single parent class. That means only one parent class is involved, thus enabling the code reusability and the addition of new features to the existing code. So here in this diagram, if you see, A is the base class or the parent class and B is your child class. So B is inheriting the properties of a single parent class, that is A. And this type of inheritance is known as single inheritance. Now we come to the second type of inheritance, that is your multiple inheritance. So when a class can be derived from more than one base class, this type of inheritance is called multiple inheritance. In multiple inheritance, all the feature of the base classes are inherited into the derived class. So here in this example, you are having two base classes, that is A and B, and both the base classes are inherited by the child class, that is C. So as there are more than one base class involved in this, so it is known as multiple inheritance. Then we come to the third type of inheritance, that is your multilevel inheritance. So in multilevel inheritance, features of the base class and the derived class are further inherited into a new derived class. So here in this example, you can see A is a base class that has been inherited by B and that is further inherited by another child class, C. So now let's see the next type of inheritance in Python. So it is hierarchical inheritance. When more than one derived classes are created from a single base class, this type of inheritance is called hierarchical inheritance. So in this type of inheritance, we have a single parent or the base class and two or more child classes or derived classes. So here in this example, you can see A is your single base class that has been inherited by the child classes B, C and D. Then let's see the hybrid inheritance. So inheritance consisting of multiple types of inheritance is called hybrid inheritance. So let's see how to create a parent class. So any class can be a parent class. So the syntax is the same as creating any other classes. You simply use the keyword class followed by your class name followed by the colon. Then you are going to have an initializer or the init method that is going to initialize the variables, and then any other user defined method. So here in this example, we are going to create a class called person with the first name and last name as properties and print name method. So here you can see you are using the keyword class followed by your class name, that is person, and you have defined your init method. It is taking two arguments, that is f name and l name, and it is initializing its two properties, that is first name and last name. Then you are having the print name method that is printing these two variables. So now you're using the person class to create an object and then it is executing the print name method. So you have created X, that is the object of person, and you have passed two values, that is Jack and Vic, as the values of the two arguments f name and l name. And then by using this object and the dot operator, you're calling the print name method. So as an output, you're getting Jack and Vic. So this is how you are creating a parent class, which is same as creating any other class in Python. Now let's see how to create a child class. So to create a class that inherits the functionality from another class, send the parent class name as a parameter when creating the child class. So here we are going to create a class named student, which is going to inherit the properties and methods from the person class, and this person class we have just seen earlier. So you're having the class keyword and then your class name student, and you're passing the base class name, that is person, to it as an argument. And since it is having no content, you have simply inserted the pass statement. Now use this pass keyword when you do not want to add any other properties or methods to the class. And now the student class has the same properties and methods as the person class. Now use the student class to create an object and then execute the print name method. So here you have created an object X of student class, and then again you're passing the values John, Vic, and using this variable or using this object of student X with dot operator and calling the function name print name. So here you are getting as output John, Vic. Now let's see how to add the init function. So the init function is called automatically every time the class has been used to create a new object. So the init is also called the initializer. It is automatically called when we instantiate the class. And its job is to make sure that the class has any attributes it needs. It's sometimes also used to make sure that the object is in a valid state when it is instantiated. So we have to include the self parameter so that our initializer or the init function has a reference to the new object that has been instantiated. So here in this example, it's our base class person, and you can see the function init function, which is taking two arguments f name and l name, and then it is initializing its two properties, that is first name and last name, using these two arguments. Then you are having a method that is print name. It is simply printing the values of first name and last name. Now let's see an example of our child class. So this is our child class student, which is inheriting your base class person. So here you can see the init function inside the child class. So far we have created a child class that inherits the properties and methods from its parents. Now we want to add the init function to the child class instead of the pass keyword. Now, this init method, when you're adding it to the child class, it is no longer inheriting the parent's init function. So the child class init function is overriding the inheritance of the parent's init function. So in this example, if we would have used simply the init function, then it would have overridden the init function of the person base class. So to keep the inheritance of the parent's init function, we are making a call to the parent's init function. So here in this example, in the student class, you are able to see two init methods. So now we have successfully added the init function and kept the inheritance of the parent class also, and we are ready to add functionality in the init function. Now we are going to create an object of the student class and passing two values, that is John and Vic, for the variables f name and l name. And when we are using this object of student class and using the dot operator and calling print name method, it is printing John Vic. Now let's see how to use the super function. So Python also has a super function that will make the child class inherit all the methods and properties from its parent. So by using the super function, you do not have to use the name of the parent element. It will automatically inherit the methods and the properties from its parents. So class student, here in this example, you're having the student as your child class and it is inheriting the base class person. So you have defined the init method of student. So now you are using the super function. So in the previous example, you have seen that you are making a call to the base class of person base class by using the name of the base class. But here in this example, you are using super function to call the init function of your base class. So by using the super function, there is no requirement of specifying the parent class name. It is automatically inheriting the methods and properties of its parents. Now let's see how to add the properties. So classes provide a means of bundling the data and the functionality together. So creating a new class, it creates a new type of object allowing new instances of the type to be made. And each class instance can have attributes attached to it for maintaining its state. So a property is a special sort of class member intermediate in functionality between a field or a data member and a method. So the syntax for reading and writing of properties is like for fields, but property reads and writes are usually translated to getter and setter method calls. So here in this example, students, your child class, it is inheriting the base class person, and you have defined the init function of the student, and due to this it is overriding the init function of your person base class. But to restrict this, you are using the super function so that the child class will inherit all the methods and properties from its parents. So you have created an object of the student child class and you have passed three values, John, Vic and 2002, for the arguments f name, l name and the year. Now let's see how to add the methods. So a class method is a method which is bound to the class and not the object of that class. So they have the access to the state of the class as it takes a class parameter that points to the class and not the object instance. So it can modify a class state that would apply across all the instances of the class. For example, it can modify a class variable that would be applicable to all the instances. So here is an example of your child class student that is inheriting your base class person, you are having your init function for the child class, and then using the super function you have enabled the child class to inherit all the methods and the properties from its parents. Now you have defined your own user defined method, that is welcome, and it is printing welcome, your first name, last name to the class of the graduation year. So that when you are creating an object of your student class, you have to pass three values, that is the first name, last name and the year. And when you will call the welcome method by using the class object, it is going to print the statement welcome, your first name, last name to the class of the graduation year. Now let's see what is method overriding. So, method overriding is an ability of any object-oriented programming language that allows a subclass or child class to provide a specific implementation of a method that is already provided by one of its superclasses or parent classes. So when a method in a subclass that has the same name, same parameters or signature and same return type or subtype as a method in its superclass, then the method in the subclass is said to override the method in the superclass. So the version of a method that is executed will be determined by the object that is used to invoke it. And if an object of parent class is used to invoke the method, then the version of the parent class will be executed, but if an object of the subclass is used to invoke the method, then the version in the child class will be executed. So it is the type of object being referred to, not the type of the reference variable, that determines which version of an overridden method that will be executed. Now let's understand the method overriding with an example. So this is your parent class. You are having your init method and it is initializing the variable message with the string inside parent. Then you are having a method show that is printing the value of message. Now you are having a child class that is inheriting your parent class and is also having an init method, and it is initializing in its init method the message variable with the string inside child. It is also having a show method and it is printing the value of the self.message. Now you can see here you are having two methods with the same name in the parent and the child class, that is show. So this is an example of your method overriding. So when you have created an object of parent, then you have created object 2 of child, and then when you're calling this method show with object of parent class, it is printing the message inside parent. And then again when you're calling this method show with the object of the child class, it is printing the message inside child. So it depends upon that which object you are using to call the method. So if you are using the object of parent class, then the method of parent class is going to be called, and if you are using the method of child class, then it is going to call the method of child class. So this was all about inheritance in Python. If you have any doubt, any query, do let me know in the comment section below. I would be glad to help you out. I hope you have enjoyed my video. Please like and share my videos and do subscribe my channel so that I get motivated to create more video tutorials on Python just for you, so that you can take your journey from the basic to the advanced level. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.